Okay, Falcher Road, you're all welcome back. Okay, great. Well, I'm just going to read out these notes. Nobody's listening to me anyway. Former West Belfast MP and subsequently Louth TD, Jay Adams is one of Ireland's best known political figures. He was also the founder of Fella and Fubble, now in his 33rd year. He's author of a number of non-fiction books, noted pamphleteer, and he's also a writer of short stories. His latest book, Black Mountain and Other Stories, was launched last week. They are stories of love, politics, war and of friendship, portraits of Ireland and especially his native Belfast, old and new, in times of struggle and in times of peace, showing how our past is always part of our present. Sometimes sad, sometimes funny, always moving. These are stories of ordinary people captured with wit, with heart and with understanding. So this is going to be a very difficult gig because Jerry's not normally used to these types of literary events, and I'm glad to see this come over, and he's now going to join the Irish Writers Association.
Where Margaret Dan, agus Falcha Mór Ruavalig, and Magwehest Danny agus the Fela agus Graves at the Rock agus Falcha go Tag Hickey agus well done. Seamus, job moi. There were 13 Irish twins in our clan, so back God help my poor mummy. Agus William McCovrone, Ayanul John Carson, or boss. Ahar. So, just a few words, because normally he doesn't get acknowledgement. Donnie Morrison is a great writer. He's also a great encourager of other writers. And Tom Hardy would never have written a word, only Donnie was there coaxing him and teaching him and educating him on how to do it. And he actually was in at the conception of my writing pastime, because he asked me when I was in Long Camp. When I talk about him being a great writer and an encourager, I want to plug this book, which has been launched tomorrow at Prisoners' Day of the Coming to Murlock. And it's co-edited by Donnie and Kayhan Farrell, Donnie, Asad Abu Shark, and it's Palestinian and Irish Republican prisoners, a collection of writings by them. And he's also edited Comrades, a book to be launched shortly, which is the last meetings or reflections that those of us who were honoured to know the hunger strikers have of meeting with them. So there's two pieces of work that Donnie's been responsible for this year. So fair play, Donnie, well done. And so he asked me to read two stories out of this book, and I couldn't find two that were tight to read, but I see my old friend Paddy Malloy here. So this story isn't about Paddy, by the way, but he just reminded me of it. I started writing, as I said, with the Brownie columns. And then one day, the Brits were in here, it was very, very tight, and I was going down the road, farther down the road, and I went into the district, the old district, to avoid the Brits. And I hadn't been into the heart of it for some time, and I was taken by demolition, redevelopment, and the war. And I wrote an article for Republican News about the Falls. And two got in touch with me, John Feehan from Mercier and the late Steve McDonagh. Both John and Steve are dead now. And they asked me could I turn it into a book. And that was the first book I published, and it was Falls Memories. And if I pick it up now, because it was written at a time of great turmoil here. It was written in people's bedrooms. It was, and it's the only book that I have another book of short stories called The Street, but I actually had to sit down and write out a list of the stories that I wanted to tell. And I find that the process of writing is magical. It's an amazing process once you get into it. Now, I don't mean polemic or statements or speeches. I was greatly assisted by Michael O'Brien from O'Brien Press, because he was very, very patient. And as editors over the time, the book went through a number of editors. But the person who I really enjoyed the process of engaging with was Timothy O'Grady. And Timothy is a well-known writer, wrote one of the best books ever written about exile called I Could Read the Sky. And he put me through my paces, and I sensed up to him, and he criticised it and commented on it. And then I got more and more into trying to develop this and trying to figure out how to build characters and how to outline a plot and all of that. And this is the product of it. So I'm indebted very much to Michael O'Brien and to Timothy, and I can't find the story that I was going to read. So I'll find it in a second. Some of the stories are about women, and one or two of the stories, and this is a very sort of pretentious thing to do, are almost written from a woman's point of view. But I'm explaining that because the two stories that I'm telling you now are about men. But just be aware that there's a variety of material in here. And as I say in the introduction, I try to explain what I'm trying to do, and I say the whole point of writing, and this is why it's magical. See, these stories happen in my head. So I take what's in my head and I write it down. And you pick it up. And it gets into your head. So what's in my imagination goes into your imagination. And then, you either think it's shite, or you or it makes you cry, or it makes you happy, or it makes you sad. So I just think that's a wonderful thing, like for people who write songs or drama or who paint or take photographs. All of that's wonderful, but the spoken word, and we're blessed in this country that we have. Make them believe, that's special.